Code Extreme, day one. What? No, this is day two. All right, let's change this background. All right, Tona, I dropped some tunes for you.
Great. I know.
Hey. Jeremiah Gibson, where's my background? Day two.
Kino, I think I'll send the background soon. Not now. Maybe like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I'll get you the background.
All right, cool beans. Hello, Gibson, Latte, Tola, Abiodun, Samuel, Emmanuel, Obina, Adeze, Daniel, Blossom, Jeremiah, Goodness, and OJ, and Paula.
Hello, Kino.
Hola,
Hello,
Paula. Hey, Blossom. Hey, Quinette.
Morning, Kino. Good afternoon, team. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you, Paula.
Okay.
I have some Bob playing in the background. Hey, Paula, could you double team for me on could we split up? Habitly. I think Taiwan Coke, they're doing retro and sprint and stand up. Could you run that one for me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so for your report, you did acceptance criteria, so we'll look at those. Yeah.
All right, Kino. I got as far as 1.
Okay.
And the acceptance criteria for CRUD for the first one.
Okay, and I did some at the bottom.
Okay.
All right. We'll troop on today.
Oh.
All right. Thanks, Paula.
Thank you. Talk to you later, team. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
So let me share my screen. Let's do some updates. Let's see where we're at. All right. I'm gonna ask for some background music, so that's what I thought about today. It's so loud though, Bina. Is that loud or not? All right, so let's look at our board, what we have done so far. So I haven't updated this in a bit. So we selected the company. We have done the first meeting. We have done the discover meeting. We have scoped requirements, even though I did find there's a few screens, just the review screens that we didn't, I didn't add to the screens list. But so I'm just gonna put that in progress. Logos done. Image for background done. What else have we done? This is done. This is in progress. That's Quinette and Latte. Quinette, what's your colors? Are you not on this board, Quinette?
No.
No, that's not you. Huh, I'm sorry. I thought you were on this board. Fix that. All right, so put you guys. Quinette and Latte. Okay. Acceptance criteria. We're still working on that. Myself, Paula, and Philip. And okay, so we are mostly done with our day one stuff. This is all of us. So we're mostly, so we have a few day one stuff left over. That's going to get cleaned up today. When I said scoping requirements, I just had the screens. We didn't point the screens. So I'll talk to Kunit and Latte about that. We don't need the whole team online for that. We're going to talk about where we are with acceptance criteria and where we are with wireframes, and then what we're going to do for day 2, right? So as far as acceptance criteria goes, we made a best effort yet last night. I was up until about after midnight. Paula was up until after 1. And then Paula had internet issues and I had eyelid issues. So I think we barely got up to 25, 28. I think we got through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Yeah, maybe 6. So I'll jump on that today. It's my number 1 priority today to get these finished. Because I know this will inform the design and everything that, right? So Paula finished 1, got through 2. I think she got down to here. Yeah, and I'm working my way up. And then Kevin will be joining. He joined the team yesterday. We're getting him up to speed, and he's going to be piled onto this. Philip, I would have had you on this as well, but we need you on the acceptance criteria for 3C. So, just want to balance that work out. So that's where we are on acceptance criteria. Hey.
Yeah, I dropped the link on the Slack channel already for the background.
Nice. Have a background, day 2. My internet's also moving a bit slow today. And everyone should have access to the folder now, right? The code extreme folder. So you can all have background and
Yeah, we have access. It's just that we cannot edit, we cannot upload, we cannot do anything to it. We can only download and view.
Got you. All right, I'll give you upload privileges so you can do that. Everything just seems to be moving slow today. Or maybe we're just moving too fast. 1 to the 2. All right, while I'm doing this, so this is day 0 stuff, day 1 stuff. I think we can officially cross a bunch of these things off our list. So where was I? I'm sorry. So wireframes. So Kunit and Latte, how far have you guys gotten?
Okay, hi, good morning. So the team started working on like the designs yesterday. So although we had to like do some late night work, we just spent time like importing our styles and modifying it to CLEPT style. And then we started working on like the landing page, a wireframe for the landing page. So that's where we are now. So by the end of today, we should, and we were able to like split tasks among ourselves. So I think that's what we just spent yesterday, just splitting tasks and then importing styles. Then work has started on the landing page. So by the end of today, we should be able to have like something like a lot more covered, as everybody is already like all hands on deck. They are working on like different stuff. So Samuel and Jeremiah, they have to work on like the admin side of things. Myself, Gibson and Aderi, we have to work on the landlord view, and then Ugo Ugo, who have left people? Ugo, Lati, and Obina that work on like the tenants. So by the end of today, we'll just fill you in more on what we have.
Okay. So I thought you're going to arrange yourselves according to epics and not according to roles, because it sounds like you're still doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we're trying to like knock this out in like a week, we do not want like all of us working on like one stuff. So if we are doing like epics, so sign up. Let's say we're working like on like a flow. Say as a landlord, I want to be able to create an account. As a tenant, I want to be able to create an account. As an admin, I want to be able to log in. So we ensure that login for tenants, login and sign up for tenants and landlord, they are done. Admin login is done as well. Then we'll move on to the next epic and ensure that the epic is done for like the three user roles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So will I also advise that you put account management stuff, make that the lower priority, because that's boring, right? That's the, if we miss that, we haven't really missed much. So put as a priority, like property management, and
Okay.
because that's the meat. So these should be the top priority: property management and reviews. And because
All right.
those pieces, right, those two, that we've gotten, the bulk of it.
Okay.
That makes sense? Yeah.
Yes,
So
it does.
tech stuff, your roles stuff. Yeah, homepage, account management, that's like low-hanging fruit. Yeah, just focus on property management and reviews. And then since you've already started, just drop the Figma link on the card.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Then I left a comment on one of the features. I'm gonna try to. Okay, yes. So last night while we were trying to like walk through it, right? So I came up with like two questions, right? Aside from like the landlord the landlord's account, do they have the option to create a list of favorite properties?
The landlord?
Because I saw one of them. Yes.
Yes.
So
Sure.
that means landlords can view other properties.
Oh, absolutely. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to view other properties.
From like a landlord's account.
Yep. So you don't have to restrict that at all.
Okay.
I remember, as much as possible, reuse, yeah? So the landlord's flow or screens, they don't have to be so different than that of a tenant if it's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, sure thing. I was just thinking like, how would they be able to, what can they see on that screen? That's why I just wanted to know that. So
On the
then,
property?
yes, like would they be able to see like a list of properties too that are on the system, and then they can fill? I mean, they're landlords already, so I don't know. But yeah,
That's number 13 here. As an admin or a landlord or a tenant, I want to be able to see a list of all properties. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's where I left it. No, okay, was that where I left the comments?
I ain't seeing comment.
No, I think it was. I'm
Oh,
looking at it myself. Yeah, exactly.
you a list of my favorite property. Oh, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. So they will just sign up as tenants or
landlord. Yeah.
okay.
No. So here's the you got to answer too quickly, because a landlord can be a tenant and a tenant can be a landlord. Yeah. That's a good question. All right, so let me flip back the question to the team. What are the implications if there is no tenant versus landlord role? You're just a user, and based on what you do, you've defined yourself as a tenant or a landlord. Did we see anything different about the sign up for a tenant versus a landlord?
Kino, can you maybe repeat the question and possibly it's quite broad. I don't understand it personally.
Right. So couldn't ask the question. Where it is, somewhere here. So ask the question, does a also during sign up, do they choose to sign up as a landlord or as a tenant? Typically, we go to that sign up screen. I'm a landlord. Click on landlord, you sign up. Click on tenant, you sign up, and that's your role through the platform, just as an admin. So my quick answer was, yeah, of course. You pick a landlord, you pick to be a tenant. But the question now begs itself, well, a landlord can be a tenant at some point, right? And a tenant can be a landlord at some point. Will they have to create a new account? Well, no, the answer is no for that. So how would we work around that? Will we just say a landlord can do tenant things and a tenant can do landlord things? And if that's the case, do they need to pick whether they're a landlord or a tenant at sign up? Right, so I'm leaning towards they pick whether they're a landlord or a tenant at sign up, and I'm kind of reversing. And a landlord can do tenant things and a tenant can do landlord things where appropriate. You concur with that, Itunu? That makes sense?
I'm trying to think.
So, sorry, Kino,
Mhm.
I want to make reference to what you just mentioned now. So, as a landlord, let me just imagine that I am a landlord now, right? And I want to sign up as, a landlord on CLEPT. So maybe 1 year or 2 years down the line, and for some reasons, I decided to be a tenant in someone else's house. Is it not possible to have accounts as both a landlord and as well as a tenant? So that if I am signing up next time, if I am signing in next time, I am signing in as a tenant, not necessarily a landlord. Can't it work that way as well?
Oh, so you're saying you sign in as who you want to be versus, am I hearing it correctly? So I sign up as a landlord.
Okay.
Now I'm trying to repeat what you're saying, Gibson.
Yes,
So
yes.
I sign up as a landlord, but when I'm in the platform, I can choose which hat I'm wearing, whether I'm wearing the landlord hat or a tenant hat. Is that what you said?
Sorry, I missed you.
No, I'm saying, are you saying that when you sign up as a landlord?
Yes.
Now you're signed into the platform, that you get to choose to be a tenant, even though you signed up as a landlord. Is that?
Yeah, so what I'm basically saying is now, like, I don't know, was it Queenet or OJ that raised up something now? So Queenet was basically saying that if at some point I decide to, want to as a tenant, like I want to sign in or sign up as a tenant, right? Is it not possible to have an account as a landlord?
Gibson, your voice keeps going up and down, please.
I'm sorry, I guess it's my network. So can you hear me now?
Barely.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Barely, but we'll try. Go ahead.
It doesn't sound like the network. Maybe you should check your mic or like move it closer or something.
Okay, let me check it.
Yeah.
That's better when you went closer.
Okay, my mic is perfect.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Stay there.
Hello, am I?
No, you went down again.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me now?
All right, just keep going. We'll try. If not, you'll just type it in the chat.
Okay, I would prefer to type it in so that I don't get to repeat it again. So I'll type it in the chat.
All right, type it in the chat. All right, so
I think something that can help us here is what are the things a landlord can do? Let's assume we have strictly landlord and strictly tenant accounts. What are the things that landlords can do that tenants can't do? What are the things that tenants can do that landlords can't do?
Good question.
Now, once we have clarity on what those things are, we can see if there's a way we can intersect them. And then we'll be able to have an account that has both the landlord and the user access.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I contribute?
Go ahead.
Okay, so does this platform as one could be as a client or be as someone who is hiring? So I don't know how what they employed was this. We switched to client, switched to hiring or hierarchy or whatever English is.
Well,
So
OJ, hold that question, OJ. Hold that question. 'Cause I think if we answer Itunu's question, that might inform the question that you're asking now about switching.
no, it's not like a question.
Okay.
I'm trying to pose like a solution. So you could switch in between the landlord and being a client, a tenant, rather. I don't know if there's something like that we could do. But then let's just go ahead with what Ituno suggested. I'm sure we'll probably be on the same page.
Okay. So switching the property role. All right. Well, let's see that, because that is, let's see, answer the question and see if it fits with what you just suggested in terms of switching the property role. And Adeze had a suggestion also tying the role to the property. So let's talk it through. So what are the things that a landlord can do that a tenant cannot? A landlord can look at, what do we say? A landlord can look at a tenant's reviews. So tenants don't see other tenants' reviews. Landlords can see tenants' reviews, and they have a reason for doing so. So that's what a landlord can do that a tenant cannot. What can a tenant do that a landlord cannot? Nothing really, right? Because a tenant can look at other landlord. Well, a tenant can review a landlord, but that's because they lived at the property. There's no reason why a landlord couldn't do the same thing. Now that I think about it, right? Yeah, there's no reason why a landlord couldn't review a property if the landlord can prove that they lived at the property just the same way a tenant proved that they lived at the property. So it seems the only thing that somebody can do that the other person cannot is a landlord seeing a tenant's property or reviewing it. And what gives the landlord the authority to do that? Well, we have established that the landlord owns a particular property. And if you've established that the landlord owns a particular property, then that gives the landlord license to go down the path of reviewing a tenant and seeing tenant reviews. Then, by that argument, that if the tenant can establish that they own a particular property, then they can go through the same process. So I don't know if you hear where my conversation is going. It really doesn't matter, because kind of what Adeze is saying is tied to the property. Because so if you're logged in as a landlord, you're just establishing yourself as landlord first. But if you're going to review a property, you just have to prove that you lived at the property the same way a tenant would prove that they lived at a property. If you're logged in as a tenant first, you're establishing yourself first as a tenant. That's what you signed up as. If you're going to review or leave a review for another tenant, you just have to establish that you own the property and you go through the same process as if you were a landlord. So it sounds like I'm saying it really doesn't matter. It's really based on, do you own this property or not? I know we kind of did a lot of talking, but does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, I think it makes sense to me somewhat. So let me say how I understand it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so from what you have just said, here's what I'm thinking. I feel the users should be able to sign up to use CLEPT, not as a landlord, not as a tenant, right? Then when you need to post a property, that is when you now have to identify. Of course, for you to post a property, that means you are a landlord, right? So that way, you are just a user that views all properties, right? Then if you have to leave reviews on properties or something, right, you have to prove that you're a tenant of that property. So until you have to review or post a property, then that is when you have to choose. That's when you have to like pick a role, basically. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let me just read what Gibson just said. So he says, so now let me assume I'm signing up as a landlord. From the backend point of view, I would have my data stored in as a landlord. By data, I mean my property listings and reviews as well. Now, on the other hand, I can decide to sign up in the future as a tenant, as well as my data stored, which will be in the form of my reviews. So going by my analogy, isn't it possible to run a landlord and tenant account simultaneously? All right, so reconciling what Gibson just said with what you're saying, Quinette, that you choose your role at the point of when you're doing action. I answer it this way. So when we press that button and we generate code, right? What is the framework of the code that we generate? And in the interest of time, what approach will be suitable, but also the most efficient use of time? And adding that layer on top of it, if you pick whether you're a landlord or a tenant at sign up, from an analytics perspective, business value perspective, that's valuable information. So this is who I am first, or this was my initial intent. Yeah. And if you allow both roles to do what the other role does based on the fact that you own a property or not, then from a coding perspective, I think that's the least amount of work, and it doesn't violate the rules that we have set forth so far. The only thing that it will be from a design perspective is that at sign up, you'll have to pick, I'm a landlord, I'm a tenant, which we do that all day, right? So that's pretty straightforward. So I think from a coding perspective, business logic perspective, whether you're a landlord or a tenant, I think Adese's view is it just depends on if you own a property or not and what you're doing in regards to that property. Then you kind of wear that hat. But for sign up purposes, you just pick whether you're a landlord or a tenant. And I think that's the easiest path from a development perspective, right? Because it's not too much context switching. You're just saying, I own this property, I'm reviewing a tenant, therefore I'm wearing the hat of a landlord. Or I lived at this property, I'm reviewing this landlord, therefore I'm wearing the hat of a tenant. Can we all live with that? Is that good enough?
Yes. It works. Not like it doesn't work, but there comes a scenario where I've been living in an apartment for quite a while now, and then I begin to build my own apartment, or for some reason I buy my own apartment, so automatically makes me a landlord. So does that mean for me to use CLEPT, I then have to sign up as a landlord?
No. So let's get through that, right? So Quinette owns an apartment. Quinette is a tenant. Adese owns an apartment, right? So Quinette, landlord, Adese is landlord. So Adese signs up as landlord. Quinette signs up as tenant. Quinette is now going to buy a property, right? So Quinette will now, you're either going to add a property because it doesn't exist, or you're going to claim an existing property on the system, yeah? So you just go through that process of claiming a property. Now, on our user stories, it says, as a landlord, I want to be able to claim a property. But what we're saying is, okay, you're a tenant, as anybody, if you can prove this property is yours, then there's nothing in the code that would stop you from claiming that property. So now you're a tenant role, but you're also a landlord by the fact that you own a property. So you can leave a review for Adese, but now people can leave a review for you. And when people are looking at your profile as based on your property, they're not seeing your tenant reviews. They're only going to see your landlord review. And in our database, we differentiate between tenant and landlord reviews. So that can be differentiated, right? So people are looking at properties as a tenant, they'll see Quinette, the landlord, not Quinette, the tenant. That makes sense. Nowadays, Quinette buys, a executive of suite of apartments, office suites. So, and they treat them like condos. A Daisy is renting an office from Quinette. Now, a Daisy rented there, is looking and will see Quinette, the landlord's profile. A Daisy now rents from Quinette. The fact that a Daisy rents from Quinette, a Daisy can now leave a review for Quinette if a Daisy can prove that a Daisy lived at or utilizes that, lease that property through a bill, a utility bill or something like that. And now you have where both roles coexist. And I think it works simply because, property is separated in the data and the reviews are also separated in the data. So you can see both sides based on what your function is at the moment. Does that answer your question, Quinette?
Oh, yes, it does.
But
yeah.
What? You also feel convinced.
I don't know. I think let me allow other people say something on this while I process it in my head. Yeah. So I think someone else should just, if anybody has anything to say, maybe opposing or agreeing, then.
So think about it again from the point of view of also what Itunu's question, which is what are some of the things that a landlord does that a tenant cannot do? And what are some of the things that a tenant does that a landlord cannot do? And if we're answering those questions and you ask, why is that so? So we say a landlord cannot see tenant reviews. I mean, a landlord sees tenant reviews and reviews tenants. A tenant cannot do that. Why is that? Because a landlord has property associated with them. Therefore, if a tenant had property associated with them, they should be able to do the same thing in regards to their property. So it's kind of merging what Itunu and Adeze is saying together.
Wait, you said other tenants cannot see other reviews. Is that what you said?
Well, tenants can only see reviews of landlords if they're looking at a property. So Quinette is looking at 123 Main Street. You're seeing the landlord reviews for 123 Main Street, right? So if Adeze is a landlord for 123 Main Street, you're seeing her reviews, the reviews that tenants left for her. But if Adeze is renting a property, you're not going to see her tenant reviews. You're only seeing reviews for her as a landlord.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, so good question. Are we good with that architecturally? I think our data model works. It doesn't break our model and it doesn't wreck any of our user stories. It's just when we say as a landlord, I want to be able to claim a property. Well, it's the role of landlord and tenant is now not just a hard role, as in this is how I signed up as, but a soft role as this is the function that I'm performing. That's the only thing that we need to keep in mind. Go ahead, Itunu.
Yeah, so I think basically what we've done is strip out the roles, right? So there's basically an intersection. So for example, a user signs up. I'm going to use my words carefully. So I intentionally use the word user. Signs up on the platform, not as anything, just signs up on the platform. He has the opportunity or he has the permissions to claim a property or upload a property in whatever form. That the moment he does that, well, obviously he has the rights of a landlord. And also, on the other hand, assuming he refuses to do that, or even if he does that, he has also the permissions to make reviews on a property that is already listed, so long as he is able to prove that he is a tenant on that property. So basically, we actually don't have landlords and tenants. We have just users. they can actually just do any of the things on the platform, depending on depending on the information they are able to prove. So if we have any user able to prove that he owns a property, then he begins to have, he can get people see a public profile of him with regards to that property specifically. Meanwhile, his side by side also has a private profile which he can share in case he is trying to rent a property. I don't know if am I right with what you described?
So you said, so in my mind, you're saying the same thing with the one exception that what you added to what I said is what Quinet also said, I think. Whereas in the big, or even Gibson, is that we'll do away with the notion of within our code a role of landlord and tenant. And the role is more your function. That's the role you take on as a matter of function. That is cool. You know, I don't think I was opposed to that. My only I'm thinking of code generation, code that we're going to build. I'm thinking. I was thinking that when we generate code, we have to pick a role, or it will generate as two roles. But technically, if we make the role name user, and so admin and user, and then we reword here, how does it make sense? As a user, I want to be able to create an account. As a user, I'm able to close my account. As a user, I want to be able to do this. As an admin or user, I want to be able to do that. As an admin or landlord. So as a user, I want to be able to create a property. That works. I want to view a list of properties. As a user, I want to view the details of a property. That's fine. As a user, I want to be able to claim a property. As a user, I'm able to remove a property from my favorite list, add remove. As a user, I'm going to list my favorites. As a user, I want you to review tenants. That's still accurate, right? Because you still have tenants, just not their function.
So it will be as a user that owns properties.
User, yeah. So as a user, I want to be able to review tenants for properties that I own.
Exactly.
As a user, I want people to give profile access to specific landlords or all landlords for properties that, well, actually, for it doesn't really matter here. As a user, I want to be able to view all tenants reviews for that I own. And for a user, I want to be able to review a landlord for a property that I have lived at. So just add those contexts. For a user, I want to be able to view all landlord reviews. That's fine. For a user, down here, down there. I guess it does work.
Yeah.
I guess it does work. All right. Well, Paula and I would change the user stories. So good thing we haven't pressed Trello yet.
Okay.
I think that does work. Does that simplify?
Just chime in something quickly. This goes hand in hand with what Gibson, I think it was Gibson that said that about switch profile.
Switching the profile.
So from a design perspective, you can have that switch thingy, right? So the idea would then be, because, you know, for example, we are keeping basically like two profiles side by side. Not exactly two profiles side by side, but seemingly. I'm just talking from a design perspective now. On the back end, it's not going to be that way, but from a design perspective, so you can actually have that switch that was suggested, right? So that way somebody can see the representation of what would be seen of them in each state. So for example, if somebody were to view my profile as a landlord, says they want to see my reviews as a landlord, that's what they would see. Or if they want to see my reviews as a tenant, that is what they'll see. So that's the reason why I'm talking about the switch. Also, that can also help us to limit the scope of, okay. I think I'll hold it there.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're about to go back in.
Sorry, let me cut in. Sorry, let me cut in.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so what Ituno said is in response to what I was actually saying. You understand? If a particular user can toggle between, either a landlord or a tenant, you understand? So I can as well have two profiles as either a landlord or a tenant. So I don't know, Ituno, does it go in line with what I was actually saying too?
No, two profiles doesn't work. The reason is a profile is going to be unique, right? Now we're having two profiles. You're going to need to have to start using a different email address to do all of that. You're going to be needing to sign in separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you understand? So unless I think
do.
they're probably saying the same thing, but I am looking at it from the data perspective. You are probably looking at it from the design perspective. That's what I'm guessing. So when you say actually switch, you don't mean that, you mean the person who need to log in again, right?
Not necessary. Not necessary. Like, obviously, if I'm signing as either a tenant or a landlord, I can as well sign in as both users as well, since I have accounts on both tenant and landlord. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I can sign in as a landlord and a tenant at the same time, I can as well sign in as both users too. Do you understand?
I think
Yeah,
you're saying the same thing that Ituno is saying.
Yeah, basically they are saying the same thing. You have one account, but I think Ituno is seeing it like he's saying two different profiles. Like you have to log out and sign in as a landlord differently. So it's just one account.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the only part I'll tweak with what Ituno is, the last thing Ituno, so we agree on the first part. So hold the last thing that Ituno said. So we agree on the first part. You're a user, right? Because when we read through all the user stories, it still fits. So you're a user and you can do all the things, right? Generically. Yeah. So I think we're all agree on that core. So now what we're talking about is how does that represent itself from a UI UX perspective? Yeah, can we?
Exactly.
All right, so we agree on that. So now, from a UI UX perspective, let's ask the same questions, right? From a UI UX perspective, if it was the same UI, right? So your same UI, whereas everybody is going to see a list of properties, right? Everybody will be able to add a property. So if you have properties, it might show above the fold, filter out my properties or something like that. Yeah. If you don't have any, then that doesn't show for you. If you have, then it shows for you. If you're a tenant, right, and there are reviews posted about you, I don't know if we have something like that. If you're a tenant, you can look at the reviews you posted as a tenant. If you're a landlord or if you're a user that has reviews posted about you for your properties, then you'll see that on the menu. If you don't, then you don't. So I'm wondering if we need to have, toggle between the two separate UIs versus we can just hide and show different things based on whether you have that information or not.
If I can chime in, I think we should go with the showing if you have the information. So basically, there should be a way to see your properties and then properties you can rent. So your properties, if you click on your property, you see reviews on your property and stuff like that. And then if you click on a property that you can rent, then you see reviews on that property as a tenant. So that way you don't have to deal with switching, because I believe switching will introduce more clicks and then bad UX. So
it's also more work, So if throughout the whole design, we have like a button that says add my property. So whoever you are, you can add your property. And if you add a property, then you'll see the my properties menu item. Don't stick with this, Quinette. I'm just talking off the top. And then as you're looking at if you're looking at the list of properties, there'll be something that says claim property, and you can just claim. So, okay, Quinette, I see your type. No need to toggle. All right, so So Manuel, Quinette, so everybody agree with that? So no need to toggle the design, the UI. You just hide and show based on whether you have a property or not.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Cool. Cool. Nice. All right, I think.
So let me just walk through this, right? So I am new to the system. I am nobody at this point, not a landlord, not a tenant. I just hear about CLEPT and I'm like, oh, okay, let me check it out. And then I sign up on CLEPT. So the board is not exactly empty because I can see a list of properties that are already existing on the system, right? So then I choose whether to add a property or not, or I just go ahead and leave a review for like a property I've lived in, right?
Or you can claim a property.
Or you can claim a property.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So that claiming a property, I don't know why it's okay. So you can claim a property. That means if I see like an already existing property on the system, right? All I just have to do is what exactly?
So let's go to that user story.
You go through the claiming process, whatever that process means. So probably uploading some CAC, let me use Nigerian parlance, right? So maybe uploading some land use, whatever.
No. I understand that. I understand like that process of claiming, but I want to know like, is it a property that is already in the system?
Yes.
Okay, it's a property that is already in the system. I'll just go ahead and claim it.
Yes.
So that means that property is being entered by who exactly? Is it like the CLEPT team or something?
Yes. So let me just put that distinction, right? So properties get onto the system in two ways. CLEPT adds the property to the system, or a new user adds the property to the system. A property.
Yes. Okay.
Those are the two ways it's added to the system. Now, the assignment of ownership is only done by the CLEPT admin. So if the CLEPT property adds a property to the system and a user says, that's my property, I'm the landlord, then the CLEPT admin, there's going to be I'll finish the acceptance criteria, but the CLEPT admin will manually verify that for now, right? Because we have to figure out how can we automate this scale. But the CLEPT admin will manually verify that, yep, you are that owner. And so now I'm going to change the owner to you. If they add a property that doesn't exist to the system, the CLEPT admin still does the same process to verify that you are the owner and assigns or says, yes, we are okay with assigning that ownership to you. So it's the same admin still has to approve. Right now it's manual. At some point we'll automate it, but for now it's manual. So that manual approval still has to exist.
Okay. Yeah. That answers my question. Thank you.
Sweet. All right, good questions. So what I'll do then is when I'm doing the acceptance criteria, Quinette, I'll start with the big ones, right? I'm going to reword a bunch of this stuff, and I'll start with the big ones in terms of acceptance criteria. And I'll also make sure we run this by Frosty. But I think I'm fairly confident, Six Sigma confident, we're on the right path.
All right. No problems. Thank you. I was even going to say if it's going to be a lot of work, I think the user stories still work, except that it's now more like as a user, I want to be able to blah blah blah. As a user, I want to be this. But yeah, I don't know if you have to change it. Then yes.
Yeah, I'll do my best and just change it all, just in case someone says, "Hey, why do we do this?" So sometimes we'll forget little details. Yeah.
All right, no problems. Okay. I think the design, so we should be able to reach out to you again before midnight our time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So remember, all we need to start is just something rough. It can be really ugly wireframes, you know, for the different flows. Because I'm guessing that that would be enough once the front end folks have code. That will be enough for them to start laying out stuff. That'd be enough for the back end to start laying out stuff, right? So whatever you, and you add the Figma link, whatever you can share, I think, you know, we can start working on it from it. Cool.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. All right, team, it took a bit long. So I guess stand up live, you know, 15 minutes is probably not enough time. So we'll have to adjust the schedules accordingly because we still have other work to do. And we have to get those done as well. So if anyone feeling the stress, like I said yesterday, shoot me a note, you know, we'll make adjustments as we need to. This is top priority, but also delivering or other obligations is also top priority, right? So we're good. I'm good. You're good. Awesome job. Let's keep the conversation on Slack. Obi, goodness, you're saying something?
No, that was a mistake.
All right. All right. Go team. Talk again soon.
Okay.
All right.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.